Scotty, what's your greatest fear?
I'm oftentimes out hiking and in the woods hunting. That my greatest fear is getting attacked or mauled by a grizzly bear. Often, a lot of people are afraid of spiders or heights or death or losing a loved one, which I am as well. But my greatest fear to me is that physical danger of getting attacked by a grizzly.
Wow. So I understand that you recently encountered a grizzly bear. Your greatest fear, not just once, but twice during the past week. Is that right?
Yeah. So I have to tell you about
the first
this.
time.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about this. So I was out hunting, and I archery hunt, which was with a bow and arrow. And I was sitting in the trees, and I was alone, and I was enjoying the peaceful morning, doing my elk call, trying to bring in an elk, and I got to feed those 5 kids, So I'm sitting there, and before I know it, I just start hearing this sound, like this cracking in the trees. And it's kind of thick trees, but it gets really thick further out there. And I remember I was sitting there, I was kind of like this. I was sitting down like this against the tree. And I remember I had my bow and arrow right here, and I'm sitting there, I'm doing my call. And I remember seeing this dark spot in the trees kept moving towards. I got excited. I thought it was an elk coming. So, I got an arrow on my bow, and I was getting ready. And the next thing that I know is it breaks through the thick part of the trees into the opening, and it is the biggest grizzly bear that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
And I've only seen him in at Yellowstone Grizzly Discovery Center, never in person. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like in shock a little bit. Because I'm like, this can't be real. That's not a bear. No. And it's walking. It's like 100 yards away, like a football field away, and it just slowly comes 90 yards, 80 yards, 70 yards. And so I pull out my bear spray that I have. I've never used it before, but I pull it out, and I pull out the safety, and I pull out this 44 revolver I have. And it's sitting on my lap, and I'm sitting there. And I'm afraid, and I'm playing it over in my head, like, what have I learned about bears? What do I do? And I was kind of in shock, so I couldn't really remember. But I did remember that the bear spray said, only use it if it's 20 feet from you and charging. Now that sounds extremely scary. So it's going 40 yards. And it gets to 30 yards, and I make this decision. I'm like, what do I do? Like, I don't want it to be 20 feet and charging me.
What did you do?
Yeah. What if I miss when I spray? And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, it's at 30 yards. I just stand up as fast as I can. I'm like, get out of here, bear. And it startles, and it takes off running, and I'm standing there. And I'm just like, then I started to tremble. I wasn't shaking before, and I pull out my camera because I got to show my dad. And I take a little video of it as it's going away, and it goes away, and it slows down and starts walking, but it keeps walking away. So I backed away slowly, and it went straight towards my truck in the direction, and I did not want to be.
So you ran away from the bear.
Yeah. So I went in the opposite direction about 2 miles to the highway. I just followed the sound of the vehicles I could hear on the highway, and I hitchhiked. Some people are afraid of hitchhiking, but a bear is much scarier to me in the woods. Sure. So I hitchhiked back to my car, and that was the first experience.
Wow, that really does sound frightening. And 700 pounds, I can't even imagine. So what happened the second time?
So the second time, I went home and told my wife and my dad about it. I showed them the little video that I took, and it was super blurry, but I told them about it, and my wife made me promise that I would not go out there alone again. So did my dad.
Good wife, yeah.
Yep. So, I got to come home to the 5 kids. But I remember this story, this part, Barbie, and my parents had called me that night or texted me and asked if I was the one that got attacked by a bear. And actually, the night before that happened to me, my friend's dad got attacked by a grizzly bear up there. And he survived, but it grabbed his arm before he could get his bear spray out, and he shot it 5 times with his revolver. And they went later to investigate that, and they could not find any sign that it was injured even. But they got the bear to leave. And so that's the kind of gun I had. So I'm like, I'm going to get a bigger gun in case it happens again. So I went and got a bigger gun. I researched a little bit what to do. And then I went back out with my dad and my friend, and kind of the same thing. I'm going to get back down here because we went out, me and my dad and my best friend, and we went to the same area, and I'm sitting here, and we kind of like in a triangle. My friend was over here, my dad was over here, and I couldn't see them. They were in their camouflage. I had my bow sitting here, and I had my cell phone sitting here like this, because we were texting each other like what we were going to do next and how long to stay. And a text came across that said bear from my friend. but I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention. And the next thing I know, my friend is just yelling and screaming. He's just, "Bear, get out of here!" And he's screaming and he's yelling. And the next thing I know is I'm like, I have my revolver in this hand and my bear spray, and I'm like sprinting and hurtling over logs. And I don't even remember pulling them out, but I had them. And I was running straight towards where the sound was coming from, the screaming and the yelling. And I see my dad coming across this way, and I'm coming this way, and the sound's over. We still can't see anything. We get there, and I see my friend there, and the bear, it takes off. It runs off away from him. And my friend's there, and he's shaking, trembling, and he's just pale. That's just like, luckily nothing happened, but, my dad and I, we both went running in that direction when we heard that scream.
So what's the difference? The first time you ran away from the bear, you abandoned your car, you hitchhiked home, and then the second time you ran straight towards the bear in the face of danger. What was the difference?
Yeah, I never really thought about that before. It was really because I wasn't alone.
Mm-hmm.
I was with my dad and my friend.
Yeah.
I was better prepared. I got a bigger handgun. I kind of searched online, what do you do if a bear
on YouTube?
Yeah, I got on YouTube and searched. And I also, I had my friend was in danger. Someone, whether it was my dad or my friend, they were screaming or yelling for help. So, that's got to be the reason why I ran that way.
This makes me think about our last session. We were talking about coaching and fears. Mm-hmm. Did you have any fears when you first started out as a coach?
When I started as a coach, and slightly before, I had a great transformation. You remember, I posted my picture of the P90X. I lost 38 pounds.
Yes.
And I was super proud of those of those results. And I found out that I could be a Beachbody coach, but I didn't sign up for 8 months. And really, as we talked about it before, Dr. Kalev, is that when I was young, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. That was going to be what I lived my life for.
Yeah.
And my dad practiced with me all the time and helped me, threw pitches with me. And I remember I got to play in the Little League World Series. And so the next step was, to go play high school baseball, college, and then be a pro. So I was on the pathway. And I remember I wanted to try out for high school when I first got into high school. And I, unlike other people, they started training in the spring. I trained through the whole winter.
You're a very hard worker, Scotty.
And I did that in the basement of the high school gym with about 4 of the varsity players. And so we practiced throwing and our fundamentals, and I was ready. And so spring came and we had our tryouts. And then I did really well with batting and fielding and pitching. And so I was super excited. They posted the team on a sheet of paper, and I was on there. I was so excited.
That's awesome.
Because that's the next step on my journey to being a pro baseball player. And so the next day they said, "Hey, meet us on the list, meet for practice. We'll get your jersey and have a first day practice." So I remember going down into the basement of the gym where the locker room was, and I got down there, and everybody was handing out their jerseys with their names, and they were throwing them on, and passing one jersey to the next. "Oh, here's yours. And they all put their jerseys on, and there was none left. There was not one with my name on it. So I went into the coach's office, and I said, "Hey, where's my jersey? I can't find my jersey." And he said, "There must be a mistake. You're not on the team."
Oh.
And so, I felt in that moment, I always struggled my whole life to fit in and be accepted. That's why I worked so hard at baseball and wanted that to be something. And so, I just had things like that, where I didn't feel like I was good enough or I couldn't fit in. And I kind of let that belief, like we've talked about before, transfer into other areas of my life.
You had said that you were a missionary as well?
Yeah.
What happened then?
I was super proud about that. I served the mission for my church, and I did a lot of good for people and served people and shared a great message with people. And then I came home, and I just met the wrong friends and got into the wrong crowd. And I remember one time I was drinking every day, and I remember walking into a room in this house. There was about 20 people that lived there, and they were smoking crack. And because I was extremely drunk, I tried it, and I became addicted to cocaine, and I lived a life like that for a while. And so as I transitioned further into my life, I was in my early 20s, I felt that I wasn't successful at my job and my careers. I dropped out of college because I was unworthy of success, or I didn't deserve it because of some of the ways that I lived.
So you had
those were fears and doubts.
Yeah, so I can see how you really had a long history of failure, or perceived failure, and how that transferred into coaching.
Yeah.
Right.
And I saw those successful people, and I was like, well, they've probably lived a really great life, and so they deserve that, but it's not for me. And then there's the other things, like I was working 12 hours a day. My wife was working every single night. And
I understand. I can totally relate. I'm your therapist, and I'm not supposed to share personal stuff, but I'm also a Beachbody coach, and I've really struggled in the beginning, especially. I didn't want to come off salesy, and I'll tell you some other time a little bit more. But do you think that we can take what you've learned from this grizzly bear experience and apply it to coaching, specifically about how we can overcome our fears and doubts and build confidence?
Absolutely. I would love to do that, Barbie. Let's get this party started.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So we're going to step out of that role, and I need to stand up here. It feels much better.
By the way, everything we said was true.
It was true. That was
He really did encounter a grizzly bear, and everything he said about his
and I'm
past
still
is true.
deathly afraid of them. So, and I'm still a little bit afraid of public speaking sometimes, but we're going to teach you a little system. You know, we all have fears and doubts. The most successful people you'll meet will still have them. We're going to share with you guys today a 4-step system that's going to help you not get rid of your fears, but have the courage to stand up and face them. And I call it facing your grizzly. So those are the things that are holding you back from your goals and your dreams. So we're going to give you guys the courage with this 4-step system. And the first one I want you guys to write down, step number 1 is that you have a reason. And with Beachbody, you hear it called as you have a why. I call it your reason. It's the reason that you do what you do. And I'm going to talk a little bit about mine. I loved P90X. I loved how it changed my life. It gave me self-confidence. It was a healthy habit that I could put all my energy into instead of these other habits I had my whole life that led me into the wrong places. So my first reason was, when I decided to become a coach after those 8 months that I talked about in the therapy session, it was April 11th, 2011. And it was 18 days after the birth of my third daughter, Alina. I remember getting to my work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had this habit of picking up the mail from the lockbox. And I ran the service and shipping department. I would go to the shipping department. I'd get there a little early before 5. I would throw all my junk mail away. And I would save the mail that was important in the bills. And I would put them in my lunchbox to take home. And that morning, I sat in my cubicle, started answering emails. And I looked at my mail, and it was the doctor bill and the hospital bill and the anesthesiologist bill from the birth of Ellie. Now, that morning, we had been over those 3 weeks trying to decide, does Gabby go back to work? Do I take another job? Do I find something else to do? I was just really trying to figure that out. And as I got those bills, they were like, $3,800 or something, and we were already living paycheck to paycheck. And that morning I had this feeling that was like, and maybe some of you guys have felt like this, I was sitting there and it felt like the whole world was spinning around me. Like I had this heavy weight on my shoulders, and like I had no control, and it was fear, and it was just this overwhelming feeling. And it was that morning when it became so bad that my fear that I had of failing as a Team Beachbody coach, my fear of failing at taking care of my family and knowing how to provide for them became greater than my fear of failing as a Team Beachbody coach. And that's the day that I decided that my reason was to help as many people as I possibly could get results with these programs, so I could bring my wife home from work and not have to be the guy that signed up for every overtime shift and every weekend shift just so that we could stay afloat. But there's this quote, Barry, and that day I made a decision that I would help as many people as it took, no matter what, so I could bring her home and we wouldn't have to struggle like that anymore. And I heard this quote that says, the 2 greatest days of your life are the day that you're born and the day that you found out why.
That makes me choke up.
Yeah,
already.
I love that. And the day that I found out why was 8 months into my journey as a coach. I hit Success Club 10 every month because my coach told me to. And I remember I was sick, and so I was home from work. So we're losing my income, and that's always stressful. But I was well on my way. I hit 8 months of Success Club 10, and I was building this business, and I knew by seeing other people and by my actions and my consistency that I was going to be able to bring Gabby home. I knew it was going to happen, and I was in love with that process. I was staying up late. I was getting rid of everything else in my life that didn't matter. And I remember I was sick, and Gabby came in, and it was the 3rd day I was sick. I stayed in bed. I never got up. And Gabby came in. She's like, hey, this was a Friday. She's like, hey, maybe if you get up and get showered and get dressed and get up and go outside, you'll start to feel better. And then she said, Keena's going to come home. That's my 5-year-old at the time. She's going to get home from the school bus. The bus is going to drop her off. Why don't you go with her, go pick her up from the school bus? So I got up and I went out the front door, And I started walking. We're in the back of this cul-de-sac, and the bus comes to the end of the cul-de-sac and stops. And so I start walking along this side of the cul-de-sac, and I'm about halfway there, and I remember the bus just pulled up. And I remember the sound of the brakes as the bus came to a stop. And then I remember the squeaking sound of the doors. Remember that sound? Squeak of the doors as it opened up. And I saw these two little hands grab the little metal bars. And I saw this little 5-year-old girl standing there. And she looked up and she had this look of joy and happiness, something I'd never really seen in her at that level. And it stopped me dead in my tracks. Like I couldn't even walk anymore. And tears started falling down my face. Tears started streaming down my face. And I remember having this moment where I was like, man, like how many moments have I missed like this? Seeing this happiness in her, and how many moments am I gonna miss if I don't change some things? And I remember that day, I realized that not only could I bring my wife home, but that I loved helping people in challenge groups and mentoring coaches, that I could get paid to do that. That could be my full-time career, and that I didn't have to sit in the cubicle 12 hours a day. And that day I made a decision that I was gonna come home with Gabby when she left her job, and that if a guy like me that had this limiting self-belief that I created that would always be a failure and never worthy of success, if I could do that, that I could help inspire thousands of people to go out and go after their goals and their dreams as well. And that's why I do what I do and why I do it so passionately.
I love it. It's so beautiful. And when we hear stories like this, I've always felt like, wait, I don't really have a why. My why wasn't financial. And this is where I tell you a little bit about my past and what haunted me, since you got to do that in the first therapy session. I grew up on welfare, on public assistance, on food stamps. And with that came the shame of poverty, just not feeling like I was good enough. I always felt like I was a second-class citizen, Even in college, I was part of the Educational Opportunity Program for financially disadvantaged kids, and I would hide it from people. I just was so ashamed. So even though I was a professor, I have a PhD in French literature, and I was $94,000 in debt, I didn't think about the financial promise. I actually didn't think that it was possible for me. And to be honest, I was just kind of comfortable with having that debt, even though I remember that feeling of lying awake at night and just feeling the weight of $94,000 on me. So why did I show up to coaching every single day? What was it that made me commit? And honestly, I always, for almost 9 years, I've been a coach for almost 9 years, I've always said, I just wanted to help people. But I always hear Beachbody and coaches saying, that's not a strong enough reason. So I have to present to 6,000 people. And I'm like, okay, what was it? Yes, honestly, it wasn't financial. I really wanted to help people. But behind that, if I dug a little deeper, it was really just this desire to matter. Like I just wanted to have value as a human being. That was my reason. And every time that I helped someone, it just felt good. And it made me want to do it again. So I don't know what your reason is, guys, but don't let anyone tell you that your reason is not good enough. But it has to be strong enough so that you show up when life hits you in the face, when you get distracted, when your spouse doesn't support you, when your mom, like my mom told me that I was throwing my PhD away and my career away. You have to keep showing up because of your reason. And so my reason was strong enough. One tip that I want to give you is you have to be able to see the future in advance so that you make the most of today. So seeing the future in advance is essential to making the most of today. Why? Because if you're able to visualize what it is that you want in the future, so for example, you want to be able to not say no to your children, you want to be able to go on date nights, pay for a tank of gas, pay off your mortgage, retire your spouse. You have to be able to see it as possible so that when life gets distracting, you sit your butt down and you get to work. Visualize it, but also write it down. Don't leave Summit, you guys, without having written down what it is that you want and why you want it. Because if you don't write it down, then it's just going to be like this thought, kind of like another thought, like, I got to do the laundry, I got to get milk. Seriously, you have to write it down. When I had my goal of, finally, I'll tell you about it a little bit later, but when I had my goal of a financial goal, I wrote it down all over the house, and that made it happen. So let's move on to the second step to overcoming your fears and doubts is having a team, right? So if you remember with Scotty, when he was in the forest the first time, you said that you were alone. And the second time, you were with your dad and your friend,
My
right?
friend, yeah.
I know that this business sometimes can really feel, you're with 6,000 people, but you can feel alone. You can feel just, right? And even this morning, like I was thinking, man, this place is so big. There's so many people. And I honestly, I thought of you, Scotty, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like just the relationship that we've developed with your family. And so even for me as a seasoned veteran coach with thousands of people, for a moment, I felt alone. And I was like, wait, no, I have a support system. So that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about having a team, we're talking about having a support system. I had my husband, right? I had you and your wife, Gabby, and then I had my coaches texting me. So having a team means having a support system, and that's going to give you the courage, that's going to give you the strength to move forward when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling alone. When I went to my first Beachbody event, it was 2008. It took me a year to go to the event, and it took all the courage that I had to show up. But I really wanted to meet Tony Horton for the first time. And there was actually a hurricane. It was Hurricane Rita. And I was like, I don't care. I could get blown away by the hurricane, but I need to meet Tony Horton. And I did. I showed up, and it was there that I met two people. I was about to say my success partners, but I didn't know what that was at the time. And it was at that event that I actually heard another coach, Robert Hudgens, and talk about his success story. And I was like, oh my God, the American dream is alive and it's available to me. Like, I can do it. This man went from making $13 an hour to retiring from his job and taking care of his entire family. But it was because I met these two individuals that I just connected with them. And one of them I started doing team calls with, or just calls, and we would dream together. We would call each other. We would talk about what it is that we wanted. And we're like, oh my God, we could do this. We could do that. And then the other person was an engineer, and he was like a numbers guy. Like, he knew how, I can tell you, I do know how we make money with Beachbody, but even to this day, 9 years in, I really don't even know what carryover volume is. And that's probably really, really bad. But luckily, I have a team. Seriously, luckily, I have friends that can tell me, like, hey, Barbie, and explain to me over and over what carryover volume is, even though I still to this day don't know, right? But my call to action for you guys, it's funny, not funny, but seriously, my call to action for you guys is find a success partner. In this room alone, I mean, the house is pretty packed today. There are about 6,000 of you. That means that the pool is pretty awesome for you to find someone that is committed, because let's face it, you made some sacrifices to be here. So you can find someone. When it comes to your business, you guys, you have to be proactive. I hear my coaches, not just my coaches, I hear coaches in general say, like, I can't find a partner. I don't know how to find a partner. Do it. This is your business. Don't leave this site tomorrow or today if not without a partner, without a plan of finding a partner. So, but if you happen to leave without a success partner, I wanted to give you just 2 resources on Facebook so that you can find one. So just write this down. There are 2 Facebook groups. One is Beachbody Champions. It has about 54,000 members. And the other one is Success Partners. It sounds like a tongue twister. Hold on. Success Partners Seekers.
Success Partners Seekers.
Yep.
Say it 10 times fast.
I can't. Hold on. I need water.
Okay. So talking about team, like I loved what we cried on the escalator up here. We like hugged each other.
We literally cried.
We cried.
And people were
just talking about how cool it is that we're friends through this company. We're not a part of the same downline or organization, but we're friends and we've partnered up to work together on our goals and to dream bigger and to help more people that way. So what I want you guys to understand about having a team is that when you sign up as a coach, you know the saying, decide, commit, succeed. Not decide, commit, quit when it gets hard. Decide, commit, succeed. And you made this commitment to work on your transformation and live a healthier, fulfilling life for your entire life. But once you help one person, I remember when I signed up my first free member, not even a challenge pack or a Shakeology Home Direct, my first free member that said, hey, I'll let you be my free coach. I remember I called them they were a part of Team Dynasty. They were a part of the team. So the minute I had one person that was like, okay, you could be my coach. I had a team. I had somebody that I could go through this journey with. So I want you guys to understand that you don't need thousands of people on your team. You just need somebody. Just like I had my friend and my dad in the Grizzly story, you just need somebody. And that could be your spouse. It could be the person sitting next to you here in this conference.
Wait, can I interrupt you?
Throw it in there.
So I was up there with those girls, and one of them was talking about an issue that she had about attracting people, right? And we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out why she's attracting people that are telling her the same thing every single time. And I'm like, guys, you have a team. Like, you don't even know each other, but you can take 1 minute, maybe 2 or 3, to look at her Facebook page and then just give her feedback. That's already a team, right?
Awesome. Yes, that's some great advice. You can help each other and watch each other's back, just like that. You know, in Team Beachbody in general, like we're all a team. All 6,000 of us are part of the same team with the same mission, fighting the same battle. So you guys are all a part of the same team. So recognize and understand that. And Barbie mentioned some team groups that you can be a part of. You might have an upline group. The cool thing is we have regional directors that are introducing the speakers. You see them around here. They run groups. I think about Carl Deichler as a part of the team. Like, he's the leader of the team. He's on Facebook. He's running challenge groups and accountability groups and contests. And like Sagi, your husband, is running groups, the Beast Legacy group. There's all kinds of groups where you can be a part of a team and be a part of something. One thing that I remember, a quick story, is that made a huge difference in my business was my coach, Lindsay, when I was first a coach, posted in the team page, who wants to be a part of the Team Cup? And I was 3 months in, just before my 3-month mark. And I was like, sign me up. Because I was going to be a part of anything that she was doing, because she had in her life what I wanted in my life, something similar. So I joined that Team Cup group. And the cool thing, Barbie, about that is I had hit Success Club 10 my first 2 months, but I hit Success Club 35 that month in the Team Club because I was challenged and I was given more ideas on how to reach people. It's the first time I actually wrote down names and followed up instead of randomly writing people. So I learned tips from those success partners. I became success partners with one of them. But here's a bigger picture thing I just thought about. I got to watch 2 of them in that Team Cup, Shay Stanford and Katie Hefner, walk across the stage as $1 million earners on Thursday night. And we were a part of the Team Cup together. So all of us have arrived at this point here now. And it was because of that Team Cup that I joined. And so congrats to all those guys, and you know those guys. But it was started with the Team Cup and growing together.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps.
So you guys, I know they announced before, get on a Team Cup. Tomorrow is the last day to register for the Team Cup. Go to your team page and volunteer to lead. Like, post it, not right now, after, and say, I want to lead a Team Cup. I need 4 people to comment below and get on that Team Cup. If you don't have a team page, grab 4 people in your row, in front of you, behind you, get their first name, last name, coach ID number, and their email address, and in between the break, go sign yourselves up and be a part of that Team Cup. How awesome would it be if we had 6,000 new people join the Team Cup so we can make a big difference? So that's what I have to share about teams. There's tons of teamwork in this company.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing. This morning, how many of you are tired? Like, if we're just honest. Okay. This morning, seriously, I woke up at my husband is Sagi. I woke up at 3:51. He was like, babe, do 3:45. I was like, no, I need to sleep a little more. I'm like, okay, 3:51. So I woke up at 3:51, and they wouldn't deliver eggs, by the way, at that time. What was my point? Oh, so we went ahead, we did the workout, and then this morning we came back, and it felt like, seriously, it already felt like 2 o'clock, and it was like 7:41, you know? And I thought of you guys, and I was kind of in bed, and I was like complaining and whining to myself. And I really seriously thought of this team. And I was like, okay, all the mothers that I've seen with these tiny little babies that are showing up to Summit, all the people that just showed up to the workout, and each and every single one of you that is sitting here patiently, like you guys haven't really gotten up to go to the bathroom even that much. Like you gave me strength. I wanted to whine and I wanted to complain, but I did anyway, but it just gave me strength and just like, Barb, get over it. Like kick ass. You came here to deliver something, and these people are here for you, and we have a gift to give. So really, really, really from my heart, thank you for being here. And then I cried on the way here with Scotty, because I'm like, Scotty, I was feeling just kind of lonely, like just, it's such a big thing. Like, you're the best partner. I love you guys. True story.
Awesome. So let's give them step number 3.
Okay. So learning something new is difficult, right? You have kids, Scotty. Riding a bicycle. Were they scared when they first learned to ride a bike, or they were totally confident?
No, they were totally scared.
Okay, how did that work?
You put their helmet on them, you ride them with the training wheels, they get pretty confident in that, then you're like, okay, we're going to take the training wheels off. Sometimes you do one first, then you get them both off. And I remember I'd run behind them holding the seat, and I would let go, and they would feel it, and they would immediately throw their feet down because they were afraid of falling. And then one time, with every one of them, you let go and they don't notice. And they're riding and they're wobbly,
so exciting, right?
And then you run up next to them and you're like, hey, and they kind of spaz for a minute, and then they're confident, they're excited, they're like, I'm doing this, and then the next thing you know, you like have to beg them to put a helmet on, and they're all over the block.
That was my question. I bet you have to remind them, like, don't forget to put on your helmet, right?
Yeah.
The point of this little story is that practice and having the tools and resources builds competence, right? Competence builds confidence. So with Beachbody, we have all these tools and resources, right? We have the Coach Online Office, which frankly is amazing because of all the resources, but it can be overwhelming. We have the National Wake Up Call, which it might be corny, but I call it like the national treasure because it is full of treasures. We have YouTube. When I started as a coach, you guys, I've been a coach for almost 9 years. There were no tools. We had to create all of them. And now we have so many tools, right? We have Coach Summit. We have Super Saturday. We have the surges. So what's the problem? What's the problem? Tony Robbins would say that it's not, write this down please, it's not the lack of resources that's the problem. It's the lack of resourcefulness. It's not the lack of resources that's the problem. It's the lack of resourcefulness. So my question for you, and I want you to actually ask yourself when you're struggling with something, I want you to ask yourself this: am I being resourceful enough? Am I being resourceful enough? So what is, and I'm dying to tell you this mascara story. Okay, I'm going to tell you. So, okay, I got fake lashes the other day, right? Just Monday, I got fake lashes. I was like, oh, cool. But you're not supposed to use, sorry, Scotty, you're not supposed to use eye makeup remover for it. So yesterday I got my makeup done. Big mistake. Just because it was too much eyeliner, and I took the eye makeup remover and all my lashes started falling off all over the place, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I'm like, how can I be resourceful? So I texted my friend and I'm like, do you have mascara? And I Googled how to remove fake eyelashes. That's such a silly, simple example, but that was me being resourceful. Check out my lashes today. They look really good, right? Yeah. But there's still some fake ones that are just kind of hanging on there, but that's okay. But my point is that you have to be resourceful. So what is one thing that if you knew how to do in your business, that your business would soar? Real question. Inviting? Okay, great, inviting. No, let's take recruiting, just because I prepared for that one. Okay. Actually, no, I got this. See, this is me. See, oh my gosh, for a minute, I was overcome by fear. I was like, oh no, I didn't actually prepare for inviting. But I'm resourceful. So if if I were you and I was struggling with inviting, I would look at all the resources that we have. I would honestly go to YouTube, search inviting Beachbody coaching. I'm absolutely certain that I would find at least 10 to 15 videos by top coaches who have done videos on this precise topic. So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing that I would do is I would go to the National Wake Up Calls and look at the archives and look for calls on inviting. Then the third step would be actually listen, apply. That's being resourceful. And that's truly, truly, truly the key to having success in this business. It's being resourceful.
I love that. It's not a lack of resourcefulness. Resources, a lack of resourcefulness.
That's it.
So I'm going to step outside the box a little bit. There's a ton of resources, like Barbie said right here. But I really dig into I'm going to talk about the vital behavior personal development. That's where I get the majority of my resources. There are millions of successful entrepreneurs that are outside of Beachbody that you can learn from, how they think, how they act, how hard they work, how they treat people, how they lead people. And so that's where I find a lot of mine. And, I used to be afraid to come up here and shaking, probably worse than the Grizzly Bear story, but I'm confident in being up here with Barbie because I have my partner, I have my team, but also because I've prepared. And I've prepared for the past 5 years for this opportunity. And it's one of my favorite quotes I ever heard was it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So with the vital behavior of personal development, every single day you have the opportunity to prepare yourself, not to just speak on a stage, but you get to prepare yourself to answer a prospect's question, to talk to a challenger, to help a coach overcome a fear or doubt through what you learn and go through in your own personal development. So Jim Rohn said that your team or your income or your organization will never outgrow your personal development.
I love that.
So when I think about that, and I think about setting goals, yes, I have a goal to be a superstar diamond. We had a goal before to be in the top 10. And you have all of these goals. Bring my wife home, bring myself home, retire my parents. And we've hit a lot of those goals. But there's a lot of goals that we haven't hit. But the most important goal that I've ever set is a goal of personal development. And the cool thing about that is there's no way to fail if you just show up and do the activity, which is do the personal development and read. You're going to grow no matter what. So I want you guys to think about that. And I get asked all the time because over the past 5 years, I've read or listened to over 400 different audiobooks on leadership and influence and business and finances and all of that stuff. So I feel very prepared to talk to anybody that has a question about pretty much anything in life because of those books. I'm going to continue growing. And they say that if you stop growing, you're dying.
You're dying.
So I'm going to always be doing that for the rest of my life is reading and trying to find resources like that. So one question that I get often is, Scotty, what?
I was going to say something. I was just going to say, I love that when you wake up in the morning, I know that your ritual is to read with your children and your children do personal development.
Yes.
Like, that's amazing.
Yes.
I just had to give you that prop. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we do the whole miracle morning. If you haven't read that book, we do that. We do the miracle morning together with the kids, which is awesome. But we're reading these books and learning, and I get asked, Scotty, what are the top 3 books? What books do you recommend to me? And the thing about that question, guys, is you got to ask smarter questions because personal development is personal. So each of us is going through something different in our life. And the thing that's holding us back from being successful, because it's so simple to do the 4 vital behaviors, and the thing that's holding us back is a personal issue. So you need to figure out what that is and then read a book on that or study a topic on that and master that. So the better question to ask somebody in the team or your coach or me or the person next to you would be like, hey, I'm really struggling with time management. I have a hard time staying focused. Do you have a book that could help me be better at that? So that's a good way for you to learn, to figure out which books are most important for you. And then the cool thing about it, guys, is you get to, read these books, do your personal development, which is the vital behavior. But the thing is, I don't want you guys just to read the books and take in all that information and save it for yourself. I want you guys to share it with somebody else. So read it, apply it to your life, and teach it or share it with somebody else. And that's probably one of, aside from what Gary Vee said about being patient, it's probably one of the biggest tips to success in my personal business that I've had that I can give to you guys today is it's what I do every single day. I do the vital behaviors, and specifically with personal development, which is step 4, is I teach somebody else. No matter what, every single day of my life, I make it my mission to plant seeds of growth and personal development in other people. And so what I do, guys, is all I do, and I train my new coaches this in Coach Basics to do the vital behaviors to identify what's working and what's not working, and then to share with me what they learned in their personal development and tell me if they shared it with somebody else or on social media. So I'm teaching them to begin sharing with other people what they're going through, how they're overcoming struggles and trials in their life. And so they're not just silently doing the vital behaviors without doing the invite process. They're getting their story and their message and what their struggles are and who they really are out there. So teach somebody else. So what I want you guys to think about is, or I guess more just vulnerable with you guys. I wake up, and Gabby can attest to this, is I'm not a morning person, and probably 5 days out of 7, I wake up and I say, I don't have anything of value. I sit down to go into my groups, like I don't have anything of value to share today. I don't know what to put on my Facebook wall. I don't know what to do.
Are you surprised by that?
Have you guys felt like that? I don't know what to put in the team page. And one thing I decided is I would be committed to the vital behaviors for my entire coach career. And I haven't shared this before, but like my idea of a great coach is somebody that knows what their vision is and has clear goals, but that shows up to the vital behaviors every single day. And as long as you do that, you're a great coach, and you're a great, not just a great coach, a great leader. So I committed to that, and I've never missed a day of posting in the team page or on my Facebook page. And all I do, guys, when I don't know what to share, is I just wake up, I do the miracle morning, or I work out and I read the current book that I'm reading. And even if I feel like I didn't get something personally from that, I just teach what I learned on a Facebook post or a blog post or a YouTube video or a live video. And the cool thing about that is practice builds confidence, kind of like your competence spiel. So every single day I'm practicing teaching, and so that's given me the confidence. But the thing is, guys, is like when I post that, I don't feel like I have value to add. But the cool thing, Barbie, is later that day or a week later or a month later or a year later or at church on Sunday, someone will come up to me and say, Scotty, hey, I saw that post you did about that Olympic runner that had his shoes stolen, and he put on mismatched shoes, and he went on to win 2 medals, and you're supposed to run your own race. And like, I read that, and that was, I'm going through something, and that's really what I needed to hear today. I feel like God spoke to me today through your post. And it's like, I didn't feel like I had that value, but I went out and I just taught and shared with somebody else. And through that opens me up to a conversation and sharing with them what I do and why I do what I do and how they can be a part of this team and this company with me. So that's how I teach people.
If it looked like I was spacing, I wasn't spacing. I was actually thinking how, when I'm on Facebook, for example, right? Like I didn't realize how much we had in common. I'm always going through something, right? And so I'm vulnerable, and I share on Facebook whatever my experience is. And when people come to me like, I love how real you are. I love that you shared this, and that helps them. But that's actually, we're talking about teaching, but teaching doesn't have to be like, you have to do this and follow this step and this step. Teaching is really just sharing. It's using personal development to apply it to yourself and to share it with someone else. And in doing that, we are teaching someone else. We are helping, and we're connecting. So
yeah.
Thanks, Scott.
Sharing is caring.
I mean, it all sounds corny, but it's really true.
Yeah.
So here we are. Are you fearless now? Fearless? Are you free of any fears?
Absolutely not. I'm still deathly afraid of many things.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm not a good enough coach or leader, or that I can't give enough attention to everybody that needs it. Like, I have tons of fears and insecurities still.
I have to tell you, that's crazy, because that's exactly, that's how I feel. I mean, a lot of times I feel like I'm not a good enough leader. I'm going to disappoint people, But luckily we have this system. We have a reason. Just like I said, this morning I was really just being kind of whiny, and you were my reason. My reason changes. It doesn't change. My big reason is the same. I truly still want to matter. We have a team. You're my team. You're my team. You're my team. My husband's my team. That gives me goosebumps. Carl, I look at Carl. He's my team. We have the resources. We name them. And we're always sharing with someone else. So you guys, you can go out there and you can apply this 4-step system to overcome your fears and doubts so that you can build confidence. So we just want to leave you with the question today: what is the grizzly bear that you have to face today? We hope that we have delivered value to you guys. Thank you so much for your time and just being here for us and just together.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We did it! Thanks, guys.